One of the issues that I discuss a lot with candidates of mine at the moment, particularly those unfortunately who have been recently laid off because of the coronavirus situation, one of the topics that really comes up is, well, Mark, what do we do? What do I do in this situation where, this is not a standard situation where someone's lost their job or has chosen to leave their job and simply goes and looks for an alternative or replacement. Where there are probably quite a few of those options around. This is completely different. We're talking in some cases about it almost being impossible right now, perhaps, as in this very day, this very week, for someone to get a realistic alternative to what they've just lost and just left behind. So the issue then becomes, well, what do I do? Do I do anything? Do I do something? And if so, what should it be? Now, clearly, if you do have a genuine opportunity to get something that's a meaningful replacement for your lost job, then of course applying for lots of jobs is going to be what you're doing most of the time. But unfortunately, in some industries and some sectors, that's just not possible at the moment, or it's certainly not very realistic. And so spending all day every day applying for jobs is not feasible. So what do you do? Well, I guess on the one hand, you can just, as it were, almost sort of hunker down and take the view that this will pass, and it will. Hunker down and accept that that's probably your inevitable fate in the short term, and simply wait for the good times, or if not the good times, certainly the better than they are now times to come back, and then obviously you begin that recruitment process, that application process that you've almost sort of put on ice. You can do that. The issue with doing just that and no more, of course, is that on the one hand, you are potentially missing an opportunity to actually use the time more wisely, and that time perhaps could and should be spent in terms of skill acquisition, education, in terms of learning something new that will be useful to you in your chosen field and chosen sector. There's an awful lot of things that you can do very easily online, often very cheaply, or at zero cost, in fact, in terms of getting yourself up to speed on maybe a product or a sector or an area that you just haven't really had time to get into before because we've all been busy with work. So that's something that absolutely kind of could and should be done. The other reason why this is so important is not just that you'll get something from doing that, of course, and that's enough reason on its own, but the other issue, I think, is that you can guarantee that when companies do start hiring again, the first big, if you like, deal-breaking question that will come up, almost, you can almost stick your life on this, is going to be, what did you do with your time whilst you were out of work? Whilst the whole world went mad and crazy, what did you do? And if your answer to that is effectively, and if we're being kind of honest and being quite brutal about it, if your answer to that is really, I didn't do anything, I simply waited for things to pass, and now it has passed, and now I'm alive again, it's not really going to impress anybody, is it, realistically? Whereas if you can talk with some level of detail about what you did to improve yourself in terms, as I mentioned earlier, of perhaps skill acquisition or education around something that you didn't really have much of an awareness of, at the very least it's going to impress someone in an interview. I don't want to sound too cynical about this, but let's face it, when you are the company, the employer, and you are back in a situation where you're going to hire somebody, and you will be, let's face it, spoilt for choice on applications and candidates, if someone can't impress you with their answer to that question, it's very easy for that employer to go, well, that's you out straight away. So please, for any number of good reasons, make sure that you do use the time wisely. You didn't want all this spare time, no one's disputing that. But if you are in the unfortunate position of having that time on your hands, please make a point of using it as wisely as you can. It will pay off in due course. Good luck with that, guys.